Okay, it says that we've gone live for the June 22 Westlake Charter School Board meeting. Board President Golick, you have the YouTubes.
Thank you. Amy, will you please take the roll?
Yes. Hope?
Yes.
Sean?
Here.
Josh?
Here.
Michelle?
Here.
Janie?
Here.
Lila? Here. Shannon?
Here.
Jed?
Thank you, Amy. Celebrations. Who wants to go first? I'm starting with you, Michelle. Yeah, good.
We're on the same wavelength.
We are.
I'll celebrate promotion. I had a kiddo promote, and my family had amazing things to say about the ceremony itself. They loved hearing about what student aspirations were and all of the diversity in their answers. They loved Dr. Ike's speech and thought it was the perfect one for students entering high school. And I want to shout out my kid who did a speech, and I was really, really proud of him. And then lastly, sorry, it's a lot, but want to shout out Miss Ho. She has been an amazing asset to the school, and you could just tell based on everything that her students say how much she really dedicates to those kids. So
That's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Jed?
Can they hear me?
Yep.
Just
Okay, so I'm celebrating the fact that I had a chance to make a great visit to the high school, and there were a couple misses there, but then we made it work and just walked around and was so impressed by what I saw in classrooms, and just had a great conversation with John. Just felt like again all expectations exceeded by Westlake, so feel great about that.
it's good to have you there.
Thanks, Jed. Lila?
I feel like I could celebrate like so much right now. The last 4 days end of the school year have been incredible. I'm going to celebrate. Westlake, I function on two ends of it. We finished our first year at the high school, and it was incredible. And I am just so amazed by our teachers, by Emily Batten, by Carla Furman, and just all of the energy that it took to do that. And then on the other end, my kindergartner has finished her first year. It's my first year as a Westlake parent, so I am just so excited and so proud of this organization as we end this year.
I'm also going to celebrate promotion. I was excited that I got to be there, and it's just fun to see how it's evolving, as we adapt to still some changes in the COVID era and things, but just how much excitement there was, and just the energy in general was very cool to see given a hard couple of years. So kudos to everyone here, and especially the teachers and John.
It was good to have you there. Thank you.
Sean?
I will celebrate 4 years after promotion. My previous Westlake 8th grader just graduated from high school. And so we're sending him off to UC Merced in the fall, or actually August, which is not really the fall.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Steve?
It's going to be a ditto, but I will also celebrate the first year of the high school. I mean, what an amazing accomplishment. Do you think about a few years ago, just like, oh, we could start this, and then going through the chartering process and the staffing process and getting students involved and engaged, and just to have a great first year. There's a lot to celebrate, but I would just like to celebrate that tonight, which is fantastic.
Thanks, Steve. Janie?
I want to celebrate the end of year breakfast that we had this morning all together, which was amazing to see everyone and just to hear people get up and reflect on the year and celebrate each other. It was an amazing morning.
Thanks, Janie. Josh?
So I'm going to celebrate baseball. So we had the championship games. I'll set the table for you here. So we are the Ohio State Buckeyes taking on Sac State. We are down by 1. This is it. This is it. That's my son at the plate.
Oh,
John, roll the footage, baby.
Oh, that's your
Roll the
son at the
footage.
plate. Okay.
Oh.
Won the championship.
Championship.
Won the championship.
Clears
With a
the bases.
walk-off single.
A
runner at
walk-off
first and
single.
second. And I didn't bring it. I forgot halfway. But we got rings.
He got a ring.
Rings.
That's
We
a
don't
great
have that in
celebration,
swim.
Josh.
We just don't have that in swim.
We don't have rings, no.
No, we don't. Let's see. I'd like to celebrate Mrs. Ike.
That's what I was gonna do.
Well,
Please,
you know,
you do.
good.
Well, maybe I will then.
She got me through some really hard times as a parent, and John knows that I refer back to one conversation in particular I had with her during an IEP. I am super excited for what she has next, but I will be forever thankful. She's made me a better parent. She's made the school better, and I'm sure the new director is fabulous, but she'll always be number one in my book. So I wanted to celebrate her tonight.
Yeah, I was going to tell a story where 7 founding teachers sat around a coffee table about 1.5 miles from here in North Natomas and dreamt up like, well, we've been hired. There is no campus yet. So we better start working on curriculum. About this time in 2004, 2005, that these 7 amazing human beings were sitting around a table, and one of those people was Christina Thural. And since that day, Westlake Charter School has been born and grown to what it is today and continues to grow through the high school. But you can find Christina Ike's fingerprint just about everywhere you look. You know, she was the one who said 7 years ago as she became the director, we need to really go all in on full inclusion. And we've been recognized across the state for our full inclusion program. And there's so much to be proud of at Westlake Charter School. But that way we do that piece right there is done really well. And a lot of it is because of all the amazing staff who work for the school. But they are led by Christina Ike in a way that I'm just real proud. She's the best of the best. And this is her last month at Westlake, but she'll always be here. She's got a daughter here and a husband here. So. Yeah, she's gonna be mad. She doesn't watch these. She's fine.
She's not gonna know, but I mean, I am sure, would say every child that's come through these doors has come through these doors for a reason. They're here with purpose, and we should serve them with that purpose because it's all part of this plan to get this child to adulthood. And to have that said to you, whether it be by a teacher or an administrator, to know that we see your child, we see their strengths, and we see what supports they might need, and we're going to do that for them. I really feel like she brought that ethos, and we have a lot of people live it, but I will just forever associate with her.
Yep. Hey, Dad, you want to play? Oh, microphone?
I want to make sure that I'm here and heard on YouTube. One of the other people that I think really contributed to
The microphone's turned off. now it's on. It's on now.
Did you do that on purpose?
It's
Is it on now? Okay. You want to sing? Duet? No. I would like to celebrate Jen Caillou. I have worked with my share of administrators and executive directors in my tenure at Westlake. And to have walked shoulder to shoulder with her this past 2 years through some really weird stuff has been an amazing experience for me personally and professionally. She has brought me along with her on this journey, and working with her has been a true privilege. I'm going to miss her. She's just going to the other side of town, but I'm still going to the high school campus. Well, it's funny when everybody talks about it, like way over at the high school. I'm like, it is just right down the street still, right? We haven't moved it. But not having her right next door to me is going to be rough next year, but it's okay. It'll be great. I'll still text her and be obnoxious. Yeah, she's going back to something that she really loved and was passionate about, which is good and good for the school. So she's an amazing leader.
I'm gonna leave this on.
We do have one other celebration, though I don't know. Honestly, it's not really a celebration. No, it is. Lila and Jed, tonight are your last meetings. And so, Lila, it's a celebration in the fact that you are taking on a new opportunity still with Westlake, but one that precludes you from being on the board. And Jed, I wouldn't be here. I don't think we'd be here if it wasn't for you as you weren't a founding board member, but you were really, really close.
Yeah, 12 years.
And so, thank you both for your service. We do have plaques for you, but with this setup, we'll do it after the meeting, and there are treats for later as well. But thank you so much for giving your time to this school. We're better because of you, and so thank you.
Here. Let's give a little. Yeah.
Are there any other board comments for items that are not on the agenda tonight? Seeing head shakes. John, do we have any public comments at this point?
I don't see anybody. Let me check a little closely here. No public comments.
So for people who are out on watching the YouTubes and are interested in making a comment, we are checking the email throughout the night. So all you need to do is email admin@westlakecharter.com. We ask that you keep it to 250 words or less and put in the subject line what item you're commenting on. But we'll do our best to read that into the record tonight. And if not, we will make it part of the minutes later. With that, we're to reports. Amy, did we get one from Amber? Okay, so let's go with impact then, and Shannon.
Yeah, so last time we reconvened to narrow down what our questions might be to guide how we're going to use the data that we're getting from the new forms and just for the equity report dashboard, whatever we want to call it. And so we decided to really focus on what do we have, what can we actually answer, but in a way that so that we aren't so open-ended that when we get all the data, we just want to ask more questions like we will always want to do. So trying to keep ourselves focused. So we have focused in on looking at the relationship between math and reading test scores and grade distribution. Is there a relationship? What is that relationship? And then how to break that down by different groups, which we're still trying to figure out exactly what that's going to look like. And then who is being referred, what services are they getting, and where are they being referred. So for next week, we're looking to define the ever-present question of what's readiness, what's academic readiness.
Good luck.
I know for some of you that's a little too soon, hope. And then John's going to bring back some of the cut points for how we're defining proficiency on CASP and NWEA, and then start to get granular about how we're going to visualize this data. So some action items to start to clarify how we're going to build out the equity dashboard.
Not too soon. It's just readiness has a very large potential meaning. That's all. It's just thank you for taking that work on. Josh, now I know development was canceled, but do you have any other updates you'd like to make about the development?
Development was canceled, but we're still active, and I want to thank the board and some of our committee members that helped out at Open House and the International Festival. Obviously we weren't out there at Open House hard selling, trying to get donations, but just to increase our presence and be known, and I thought it was a great opportunity. Everybody did a great job. Everybody was relaxed. And I think that there's a lot I see in the future, maybe some of these international festivals, open house, maybe we have a little fun at our booth too. So I think it's a good thing that we've started. So I'd like to, and I want to thank everybody for their help. And I think it's great, as we embrace the community back and kind of remind them of who we are and what we do. So, and then we're due to meet again on the 20th.
Right, the Monday, but
which is a holiday, so I'm still
for some
trying
of
to
us.
figure that one out.
Yeah.
So,
finance, Sean.
We talked about the budget, which is on the agenda for tonight, so you will see our meeting.
I will say honestly that is the same report for governance. Basically everything we discussed tonight is on the agenda for later, so I'll save that discussion for then. With that, Dr. Ike.
Hi, everybody. Let's start a little timer just to win a bet. Here we go. I think my celebrations might be longer than the rest of the show. It's just like MacGyver said, there's so much going on at the end of the year. Book character day. There's all your first grade teachers and their team dressed up as Fly Guy. We got Curious George. It was a great day at school. Here are our 8th graders on our 8th grade Santa Cruz field trip. It's not just an overnight opportunity for the 8th graders, but it's also a opportunity for us to demonstrate stewardship, that our 8th graders go on this overnight field lesson and they volunteer down in Santa Cruz on the trip to help out with some volunteerism while they're there. And they also go to the boardwalk and the beach and have a ton of fun. The 8th graders just had a blast. It was great. The promotion was phenomenal. Like our students, I'm telling you, I am so proud of this group. I think they're a wonderful group. I've known so many of them for so long now. Watching them walk that stage was emotional. It was great. The student speakers were phenomenal. And I got to give a shout out. I'm sure you'll all nod and agree, but like the team that put this thing on, you got to see me do a speech. I had nothing to do with this promotion in reality. I'm a 5-minute speech. It is Tony Alexander, Stacy Ramirez, Melissa Grunholtz, Monica Darris. The entire office team is out there putting those chairs in straight rows, putting that balloon arch. I mean, we walked in and the place looks beautiful, and you never see the people who do the actual work, and they deserve some shout outs and some recognition, because that was a phenomenal event. Just being at the event and seeing how we do what we do, it's like, oh, this is it's a classy act, and it's all because of those amazing people. I don't know if we talked about this, but our high school physics teacher, Domina Stamus, has a partnership with Space for Girls. Space for Girls is a national organization that tries to help girls get involved in aeronautic engineering and space related job industries. And so through their partnership and some sponsorship, our students got to launch a weather balloon into space. That is the capsule that they designed and printed on a 3D printer. That capsule right there is a second version, as is a good science experiment. They did a first version. It was 4.6 pounds, so it's a little too heavy to send up in the balloon. They redesigned it, reprinted it. You could see it has a pool noodle around the bottom, just in case it landed in water. I mean, really this cool opportunity. Our kids went out. You saw them on KCRA News right there. Our kids went out to the launch day at the Science Mosaic, the Museum of Science and Curiosity? Innovation and Curiosity. And we had to launch. This weather balloon went 100,000 feet up into the air, expanded to 30 feet across, popped, parachute came down, our little capsule landed way out in the woods. I went and recovered it, collected some data from it. Just a really cool partnership. The high school is doing cool stuff and getting recognized for it. You can see that on the news. A big shout out to the high school students for doing that. Field day was like being in outer space. It was just like wildness and crazy fun out in the park, about 105 degrees, but just it's a great way to end the year. Such a big shout out to our teaching staff who brought all the kids out in the park and made a great last endeavor there. Josh talked about the development piece. Development was raising money to send all of our high school students down to the Museum of Tolerance. We know that field lesson kind of fell through this year because of some organizational aspects with the Museum of Tolerance coming back from COVID. But we'd committed to the Museum of Tolerance also being an opportunity to tour UCLA. Couldn't do that. This Museum of Tolerance is going to be a global leadership opportunity for our students, coupled with a college tour. So, keeping with the theme, we had a great end of the school year. Our students, the second to last day of the school year, went down to Sonoma State, then up to UC Davis, so 2 colleges in one day. The entire school. Like, it's hard to believe you want a field lesson with the whole school, one class, right? 130 kids out on these tours. And then the next day had an opportunity to go on a excursion in Quarry Park and have this leadership opportunity to go do some ropes courses and talk about leadership. Then they had a lock-in overnight and woke up on the last day of school at school and dismissed. It was a really cool way to end the high school. In fact, Mrs. Batten sent me a text with a picture of the sunrise on the last day of school, and she'd sent me a text on the first day of school, because she was, of course, there 4 hours early, as the sun came up on the first day of school. And we looked at those 2 pictures and we thought, hey, wow, what a cool year we had. So this is a celebration. High school course selection was jam-packed. Tons of parents in the Oasis, well presented by our counselor, Mrs. Fabry, and our amazing Emily Batten, our high school principal. A great event there. And this is the Spirit Shirt Contest winner. We had 3rd grader Bentley Reed won the drawing contest, and that's going to be on the back of the Explorer T-shirt, Spirit shirt for next year. This is us this morning having an end-of-year breakfast. Look, there you can see 150 people sitting indoors and outdoors. We got this technology going on. Monica slipped this picture in there that Amy Wells gave to her because at one point I was having a technology problem, and Roland Eichling goes, well, just read it off your phone. So I opened up my phone in front of like 150 really close friends and realized I can't really see my phone. And I said, does anybody have any readers? Then Michelle Crystal gave me these readers, and we're all laughing at me because I can't see. And it was really a funny moment. Look, it felt like a family. We were just laughing and enjoying each other and having a great time. You guys, today ended really well. We had an opportunity at the end of year breakfast to celebrate one another, to come together at the end of year. We had outdoor seating for those who prefer to sit outside, indoor seating for those who prefer to sit inside. We did an activity that I want to tell you about, and it's this. We had over 1,000 pictures printed out and were curated from across the entire year. We put those pictures on those tables that you see right there, and we said, hey, staff, go out and collect a picture that makes you smile, a picture that makes you proud, and a picture that shows the impact of Westlake Charter School. Bring those back to your table, use the Post-it notes to say something about that picture. Then at some point, put it on one of these columns. You can see the 5 columns. They, of course, are the columns that read, we demonstrate what is possible when school and community collaborate to create inspiring adults with academic readiness, create inspiring adults with social emotional readiness, and to lead as global citizens. And those pictures went up there, and you could see those. One exemplar right there of the pictures filling up those pillars. Now we're going to run those through the laminator, and we're going to use them as an opening activity for next year. I might even bring them to our leadership workshop. I'd like you to see how our staff see the work that they do fitting into the mission. It was just a really cool way to remember, yes, there were hard times that were had this year. It was a challenging year for sure, but there was lots of smiles. And there's 1,000 pictures of joyful moments throughout the year. So we really had a good time this morning. I think it worked out really well, other than the glasses that I was trying to look through. This is me celebrating an amazing human being. Our classified member of the year, employee of the year, is Saba Khan. If you don't know who Saba is our health office assistant. She has been the most consistent and regular employee we've had in that position. She doesn't miss a day of work. She's always there. She knows every child by name, by need. Every diabetic student on campus, every student with a special need because of a medical condition. She knows those children. She is there taking care of them on the regular, but she also hands out every Band-Aid, every ice pack, and in the land of, in the era of COVID, adults and children and family members and community members have called upon her to say, hey, I think we were exposed. Can we get tested? Oh, you tested my child. What's the results? What does that mean? What resources can you point me to? She has been at the center of all of this for the last several years, and she was recognized this morning by our entire staff for her amazing dedication. So I really want you to appreciate how embarrassed she was in that picture. She's like, oh, don't look at me. I was so glad that we looked at her. Saba Khan's an amazing employee, and I'm happy to celebrate her in front of you. Now, for the teacher of the year, she was mentioned earlier by Michelle Gibbons in her celebrations, and that is our very own Michelle Ho. Michelle Ho started here, I believe, it was, I think, 9 years ago. She, as Christina Ike stepped out of her 3rd grade classroom and became an administrator, Michelle Ho stepped in as a brand new, straight out of the box, fresh teacher out of college, and man, she has just been amazing. Year after year after year, her leadership has shown through in the 3rd grade team, and this year she took the step to 8th grade, and people went, 3rd grade to 8th grade, is that going to be, oh, she is just absolutely crushed it in the 8th grade, as if she was built to be in 8th grade. I tell you what, the student speeches from the promotion this year tell the story better than I ever could. Over and over and over, those children said, Ms. Ho, Ms. Ho, Ms. Ho. So congratulations, Ms. Ho, for being our 2022 Teacher of the Year. She does a fantastic job. We're all certainly proud of her. I'm going to talk strategic actions and updates. I think I have 2 of each. I don't think it'll be too long. The big update is that Melissa found 17 volleyballs on the roof right there, all belonging to her daughter. Sorry, MG. I know you're watching. We're going to be talking about preparing to onboard new leadership and staff, and some school safety plan that I want to bring you an update on. School leadership. I put the Quarry Park picture over there. Those are all of our 9th graders in a ropes course talking about leadership. And so as we talk about preparing our leadership, we have our K-8 principal, Jessica Gallenborg, already. She was at promotion yesterday. She's meeting with Tony and Stacy next week. She's beginning the onboarding process right now. She's ready to go. She's excited to move in, and we're really excited to onboard her. Kevin Seamus is also starting up this month. These people can't get in here fast enough. We're like, hey, we're about to go on vacation, but okay, come on and let's get started. They're just so excited. So we are planning some leadership retreats with these 2 administrators, as well as our 2 new assistant principals, right? Allison Chavez at the K-8 and our very own Lila MacGyver at the 9-12. This whole addition to the admin team will be participating in some leadership workshops internally. We're really going to jam as an admin team and not act like we're adding 4 new people to the admin team. We're really starting a new admin team, right? Adding 4 to 8 doesn't, doesn't isn't just adding people. It's let's start from scratch, get to know each other, see how we operate, and what can we do to improve continually going forward. So we're going to spend a lot of time this summer onboarding leadership. I'm very excited. I even envision if we do a board workshop, potentially bringing the admin team into a board workshop. So we're really jamming together. What's our board leadership objectives and what are some administrative leadership objectives, so we all know what lanes we travel in. Well, we're super excited about planning for summer onboarding. It's going to go well, and I'd love to invite each of you, if you're interested, to use the link in the Westlake Weekly to meet our new principal and director. Each of them have a little link in there where you can sign up to meet with them. I want to talk about school safety planning. It's something that we've already kind of doubled down on for this summer. It's, in response partly to the, recent tragic school events that we've all been tracking in the news. I think it's an opportunity. Every day is an opportunity for us to, reconsider school safety. But I think right now it's okay for us to say, okay, we've been on this campus for several years. We obviously worked with a fantastic consultant group who helped us design our school safety plan, our comprehensive school safety plan. And as a part of that comprehensive school safety plan, we have an active assailant appendices inside that plan. We just think it's an opportunity to reach out to the same partners that we've worked with in the past and say, hey, this summer, could you come over, re-walk the place? It's 5 years later. Is there new knowledge in the industry? Should we be doubling down on this? So we're re-engaging with school safety ops or school safety operations. They'll be coming down this summer, working with our administrative team. We're also going to be reviewing with them our CSSP, especially around school penetration and on-campus presence, and then also not just for Mabry, but for the East Commerce site as well, just to make sure we bring our partners into that piece this summer. Updates, I have 2. They are K-8 or K-12 enrollment and K-12 staffing. So let's take a look at enrollment. We are fully enrolled at the K-8 site for next year. Obviously, we have 1,000 students enrolled, kindergarten through 8th grade for the fall. But, the wait list, again, is well over 1,200. So, if somebody moves to Nebraska over the summer, we'll be able to backfill every position, kindergarten through 8th grade, multiple times. High school, we have currently 115 ninth graders enrolled and 141 10th graders enrolled, which means we have 256 high school students enrolled. And as you'll note tonight, we've built our budget off of 250, so we're slightly over-enrolled. That's fine because we know that over summer, some people could come and go. We are actually currently advertising for ninth grade just to see if we can get that 115 up toward 120. But even if we don't, we're still okay because we're over that 250 mark right there. So we're excited about enrollment, but it's a piece that we want to make sure we keep pushing on throughout the summer because summer's a real easy time to lose people. They say, oh, I'm coming, and then they get distracted and they don't end up at your school. So we don't want to go from 115 down to 100. We want to go from 115 up to 130, or 125 if we could. Good? And then staffing. So we're fully staffed, K-5 and 9-12. We do have one position open in the 7th grade. Mr. Reese Ornelis, who is a 7th grade humanities teacher who we think is kind of amazing, has accepted the K-8 TOSA job. So why do you have a K-8 TOSA job open? Well, let's track the domino effect, right? So the amazing Lila MacGyver, the high school TOSA, becomes your high school assistant principal. So that leaves a TOSA job open there. Katie Davis, our K-8 TOSA, goes up to the high school. Oh, okay, great job, Katie. So we have an opening at the K-8. Well, there goes Reese Ornelis, and now you've got a 7th grade open position right there in humanities. As of now, both of the math positions in 7th grade are full. All the K-5 positions are full. The 9-12 high school positions are full. And we did just land an ed specialist and a half-time school psychologist in this last month. So as of right now, we're looking pretty good. I would like to talk a little about teacher retention. We talk about recruitment and retention quite a bit. 8% is the national attrition rate, 2001 to 2019. This is all pre-pandemic, right? So when you talk about the great resignation right now, people leaving the industry, there's these predictions that we're going to be attrition rates are going to go to 25%. That was what was being predicted 6-7 months ago. I don't think we're seeing that. We are seeing an increased attrition rate for teachers, but the data is still out. I mean, it's still we'll know in 2 years what happened this year when it comes to data tracking in this manner. But the national retention rate for teachers has been roughly around 8%. Post-pandemic attrition rate is really unknown. I think we'll see how the data shakes out. But here at Westlake, we have 5 teachers who left the organization out of 66, which keeps us just under the 8% at 7.5. So even during the worst of times, I still think our retention rate is pretty strong. Of those 5 teachers right there, 3 of them left during the school year, right? And that's what made this year incredibly challenging, because people mid-year just couldn't continue in the industry. All the people who left not for another job, but for they left to not teach anymore, which is super sad. But we're seeing that across the industry. I think that's what will lead to increased attrition rates out there at a national level. However, our rates are right there. We're at 7.5% right now, which keeps us pretty strong. I think in our impact work, what we acknowledge is keeping under 10% is always the annual goal, and so I think we're still there right now. Those are my 2 updates. Any questions, thoughts, or concerns about any of the topics: enrollment, staffing, school safety, or onboarding new leadership?
I just wanted to point out, I know that I wanted to celebrate, I guess, the 7.5 attrition rate, because I know how hard it was to keep everybody separate and bring everybody together.
Yeah.
And I think that shows you were very successful at that. And I salute you and your team and the teachers for sticking it out with us and staying committed and staying to Westlake. And I think that's an attribute. That's a good thing.
Yeah, look, I'm Captain Sunshine. I'm always celebrating, but I'm going to tell you, like, we were at that end of the year breakfast this morning, and while there was joy and hugging and like, we did it, we made it till everyone acknowledged, hey, this was harder than it's ever been. And I think we started talking in the background, today about like, being separated and being on screens and being away from one another has reduce some of that connective tissue that's made us who we always are. And if we can come back in the fall, whether that's masked, unmasked, optimally masked, or required recommended masking, whatever can bring us back together, like in a physical space like we are now, that's going to probably help our people. They missed each other. We saw people in the end of your breakfast today be like, I've only seen you twice all year. Do you still work here? And it's like, wow. So thanks for the shout out, but I think we got a lot of work to do to make sure everyone has a really successful, rich year next year. Any other thoughts, questions, or concerns? All right. I told you, I think my celebrations are longer than my other pieces.
You're done?
That was it? Was that it?
I know,
To be
right?
a record.
I think the record was 18 minutes. Did you start the timer?
No, but I've got YouTube. I'll go back.
Yeah, I think it was 18 minutes, just for the record.
You can leave a comment on YouTube and tell us how long it was.
Speaking of comments, could you just, before we move on to the consent agenda, see if we have any public comments?
Yes, ma'am. Seeing none.
Okay, so that brings us to the consent agenda. This evening we have items A through H. Before we dive into them too much, I do need to make a public announcement in regards to item 7C, and that is the fixed term employment agreement with Dr. Ike. We legally are required to announce out changes to his agreement. So in this year's, after meeting with finance, we would propose increasing the base salary to $180,710 per year. This represents a 12.5% increase in the executive director's salary and includes both matching an 8.5% salary increase given to certificated administration earlier in the year and an increase of 4% that was provided in the previous agreement. We've also included a one-time bonus of $1,000, which matches what was given to other employees. We've updated the deferred compensation contribution due to the increase in base salary. And we also lastly updated the number of sick leave days to match that was brought forth as part of the compensation approval approved in April? Anyway, approved earlier this year. So with that, announcement made. Are there any other questions about the consent agenda tonight? Hearing no questions, is there a motion to approve items A through H?
So moved.
Thank you, Jed. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sean. Amy, will you please take the vote? Yes.
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 Thank you.
Got your microphone back on.
Yeah.
You're like,
They went
click.
to sleep a little bit.
Yeah, they're
They seem to be doing that.
they're a
That's
little
okay.
nappy. I guess we're boring the mic, so. We were talking earlier about how technology seems to be getting personalities. So now that we're older, maybe in our lives things are changing. We have 2 action items on tonight. The first one is accept and approve the 2022-23 LCAP. Steve, are you presenting that this evening?
So no presentation tonight, although it is my item. I didn't get any comments over this past month on the LCAP, so the LCAP before you tonight is essentially what was brought forth as a discussion item last month. It is packaged together in the appropriate format that the CDE requests, starting from some of the budget overview tables for parents and running through the plan itself and instructions and things like that. So if there are no additional comments, I would just seek approval on the LCAP.
Perfect, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the LCAP?
I'll move.
Thank you, Josh. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Janie. Yes.
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 Thank you. That brings us to our second action item this evening. I should not have eaten my dinner. I just put it out there. Accept and approve the 22-23 budget. Now, is there a presentation for this one?
Oh, you better believe
Oh,
there's a
you-
presentation.
yeah, oh,
Are
yeah.
there lots
There's
of
a-
words on
oh,
Oh,
slides?
there's
Slides.
slides and GIFs and all the
Animated
things
GIFs.
you want.
Is
in
my
the
is my money man on it?
one of the well, which one are you talking about?
Well, I'll tell you. If we
You'll
get to
see.
It.
You'll see it here in a few
Well,
minutes.
let me anticipate.
That's right. Do you mind driving? Is that?
I got it. I
Yeah,
got you.
got it.
Yeah, let's
All
do this.
So we can advance this first slide. There we go. There we go. So there's the first image of the evening. So welcome everyone. Tonight we'll be talking about the 22-23 WCS budget. It's the first budget that includes all grades K through 12, so it's kind of exciting as well out in the multi-year projection land. So we'll start with the governor's May revise. Governor Newsom came out a couple weeks ago, issued his May revision based upon updated projections, and these updated projections kind of blew the socks off everyone. So back in January, Governor and his team thought there might be a $55 billion surplus. Came out in May and said, "Oh no, we were wrong. We were off just very so slightly. Now we're over by $100 billion. It's billing with a B. Well, technically, 97.5, but what's a few billion between friends? So quite a bit of money coming to the state coffers. In addition to that, the governor back in January said it was anticipating a little better than a 5% COLA, cost of living adjustment. Revised that upwards to a little better than 6.5% here in May. And then they really started to get into some of the nitty-gritties of his education proposals. That included a boost to the base of the LCFF, the local control funding formula, of about $2 billion, which is about 3%. And then the real news took off because he presented a $8 billion in one-time proposed allocation out to schools, again, which is a phenomenal amount of money. Then it talked a little bit further about not a hold harmless, because that was language that he didn't want to use. It talked about attendance relief. The governor and now the legislature are both talking about that. And then just all of the other programs were built into the budget. When you're talking about a $100 billion surplus, there's a lot of money proposed to be spent. And the governor really didn't hold much back. He was just issuing a lot of programs and a lot of proposed spending, and this one from facilities to community schools to other block grants. Again, just the money kept pouring on him. So next slide, what was missing from the governor's proposal? A couple things. Really pension relief. A number of years going past, they've talked about buying down particular rates or adding funds specific for STRS and PERS contribution rates. There was nothing in the governor's proposal specifically for that. The governor also did not propose any debt financing for facilities. So you may remember back to the Schwarzenegger days, right? Breaking down the wall of debt and cutting up the credit cards and things like that. So Governor Newsom came out and was not a fan of issuing additional debt. You can see why when there's a $100 billion surplus coming in. So he was proposing to use actual revenue funds for some facilities, but not issuing any new debt in the future. And then also the governor did not include any type of transportation funding, which was important for the legislature. The governor did not include it, but we'll see kind of the ledge's take to this here in another slide. So here we go. Again, so the governor proposes something, the legislature takes a look at it, and they come back with their own proposals on things, and then they kind of wrangle over things. So the Senate and Assembly came through and said, yeah, we agree with the 6.5% COLA on that. They wanted to boost the base LCFF funding by $6.6 billion, about a 9% increase. They're also proposing to kind of expand the scope of the unduplicated pupil percentage to include homeless populations as well, homeless students as well in that count. Where the governor was proposing a mere $8 billion, the legislature is coming out with about $8.5 billion in one-time funds. And then the legislature was also committing some additional revenues on the transportation side, again, mandating transportation and kind of putting funding behind it. They, of course, scraped out a couple things to make up the differences. So they scraped off some deferred maintenance in community schools and some other grants to kind of fund, using air quotes, their priorities. So there's a lot going on at the state. I'm sure some of us in this room go, yes, there's a lot going on in the state right now. But as you kind of read things, you might get kind of lost in the cards a little bit. So these next couple of slides kind of hopefully help the home gamers kind of clarify it a little bit. So kind of on the left, you can see what the governor's proposing. On the right, what the ledge is proposing. There's agreement on the COLA on what that should be. Next, they're talking about the boost to the base LCFF. Governors come out again with about $2 billion. The legislating note, we like to increase that by more than $6 billion. And again, that would increase the entire, again, using my hands, it's tough to see on screen, but funding amount on the LCFF. The one-time block grant, the governor was really flexible and had some really wide guardrails on its proposed use of about $8 billion. The ledges come out with, again, a little bit more money, but really focused it on staffing. So staffing benefits, but also pension obligations. So which could be interesting because if things were to do a downturn and the pension obligations that we're still obviously on the hook for, they might come back and say, well, we gave you that money a couple of years ago, remember? So, some interesting nuance there. So just want to call that out specifically. Still money continues in the budgets on both sides for early learning. This is really to provide expanded school day for students. So not only kind of expanding into the afternoon, but also funds to expand programs over the summer. So it's really similar to the programs we already have going with BASE and After School Live and those things. A lot of districts and LEAs don't have those programs. So we'll just be kind of helping to support some of the programs we already have in place. The governor did propose $1 billion, again, towards the early learning side. The ledge has kind of shifted that a little bit. They are also, like I mentioned previously, focusing on providing funds for early learning, but they want to take $1 billion and have it specifically go towards a block grant for arts, music, library services, and kind of instructional materials. So again, a little bit a different nuance. Again, where we talked about the governor did not have transportation funding. The ledge is coming back and saying, yes, we want transportation funding. And then the last slide a little bit is just some of the really nuances getting into the nitty gritty when it comes down to, a few $1 million programs and things like that. So there's consensus on COLA, consensus on a lot of money coming in, consensus on, a few $1 billion coming out in one-time block grants. And hopefully now they're working through on getting the budget completed. We should note that the statutory deadline to get the budget, at least to the governor, is June 15th, though that's some kind of a faux deadline because while the governor can get it on his desk, it really will get cleaned up in the trailer bills. They can take many, many months to do. So again, while the budget might get there, the actually known components of it, and particularly how it might impact us, may not be known until, August or so. So we'll have to kind of wait and see a little bit. So now specific to Westlake. So on the budget side of the house, we get our LCFF funding estimates from school services. That's SSC, School Services of California, our SELPA, the EDCO SELPA from Natomas Unified. John talked a little bit about our enrollment projections already. You can see the COLA is built in to the budget that's before you tonight. We are going back to kind of our historic ADA rates. So the average daily attendance of 95%. In grade 9 and 10 in this case, and then 96% in grades K through 8. So we're kind of retargeting those historical attendance rates. The governor has again proposed those augmentation funds, the additional $1 billion coming into it. Some of those funds are built into the budget as well. Again, it's not a COLA. The governor was specific to not call it a COLA. It's really just additional funds coming in, because sometimes when you use the words COLA, folks can look at it and say, oh, well, that's what, everything else should increase by that rate, and that's not necessarily true in this case. We did confirm with our partners at Natomas Unified, they're also including that little bump of the augmentation, so we just wanted to sync what they were doing to what we were doing, so when we go present in front of their board in May, we have some common language around what we adopted our budget to and what they adopted their budget to. And then last but not least on this page, the Education Protection Account, or EPA, which is known as Prop 30, which got approved, now 7 years or so ago. Revenues are predicted to be about just better than $3 million on that. Revenues had to jam to 2 slides tonight, so I apologize for that. There's just a lot to talk about. BASE is also included in the budget. These past few years have been challenging for BASE. We've done distance learning camps. We had it open during the day for students. It's come back a little bit this year. We're projecting for it to come back even a little bit better next year, kind of get the wing beneath it. But it's really close on the revenue and expenditure side, right? And these are just projections right now. So we're anticipating that we'll see more students return to BASE next year. Also includes donation from WAVE, and then potential parent donations as well for things like school supplies, field lessons, and things like that. It's important to note what it does not include. So the budget does not include Silicon Schools. While we have an agreement with Silicon Schools, it's likely that they will come through on that. We won't book the revenue until it comes in. That's about $200,000. And then over the past few years, the Hastings Growth Fund has provided $1,000 per growth. So if that again comes through, again, that's another $100,000 potential $1,000 sitting out there. Well, but again, won't book it until those funds come in. And then some of these attendance relief funds, because we know this year we took a particularly hard hit on attendance at second interim. We were down to about 92.5% off from 96, right? So that's quite a bit of a pinch. There's discussion on like 3 or 4, I think, different models on what this attendance relief might look like. So there's nothing in the budget on that. We'll have to kind of wait and see what it looks like. And hearing from Eric Premack over at CDC, he said if something gets through, we may not even see the funds until February of 23, which is right around our second interim point. So again, that's one that we'll keep attuned to. But there are a couple different proposals sitting out there right now, so we really just need to wait and see and find out what it looks like. And then this proposed one-time state funding that the governor and legislature now are proposing. So $8 billion in one-time discretionary would be about $1,300 about per pupil. We've got 1,200 pupils, so it's like $1.5 million potentially, right? It's just a lot of money sitting out there potentially coming our way. And again, if it's 1.x for us, you can imagine what it is for Natomas, Elk Grove, LAUSD. It's just a lot of money. Again, in discretionary one-time coming out. And then the early learning opportunity, again, not sitting in the budget yet, but could be up to $2,500 per unduplicated pupil count for our K through 6 students, which again could equate to $700,000 or so. So again, there's some big dollars potentially sitting out there. We'll just need to wait to see what not only the budget has, but what the trailer bills have associated with it as well.
Steve?
Yeah.
If they do come through with the one time per student, are there going to be stipulations as to how that money can be spent?
Yeah, so that kind of gets back to the guardrails, right? So the governor was really liberal on the initial proposal on what it could be spent on. The ledge has come through and provided a little bit tighter guidelines to say really staffing, so salaries, benefits, and again pension pieces as well. So we'll need to see like what they come to agreement on. So the answer is it might. Yep. Yeah, and likely so. I mean, the state usually doesn't like to give money away for no accountability, so we'll see what happens with that. Which means there's probably another plan headed our way. I'm just saying.
I was just going to joke, so the LCAP will go from 59 pages to 99
Well,
pages.
you never know. Right?
But we'll get money in the end, so maybe it'll
This is
all
true.
balance out.
Yep. Thank you, though. So altogether, sorry. Altogether, we've got about $9.5 million on the LCFF and property taxes, about $3 million in the EPA, special education funds as well, and then other local revenues for a total revenue of just about $14.4 million for our little charter school. Next up, I'll try and get through expenditures real quickly. So the K-10 expenditures include all the things we would anticipate, right? So salaries and benefits equate to about 80% of the budget. Professional services, who are folks that provide service but are not staff. You think about Clean It, Law and Order, some of the special education services vendors. Facilities is a big piece as well. And then some fun things are returning, right? So field lessons are baked into the budget once again, travel and conferences, in-person PD, like all this stuff. Like, yes, it's back, right? John, you mentioned the fiber, right? So these things will kind of help reconnect and build that fiber. And so those things are built back into the budget as well. And then the EPA, again, this is a program that has some guardrails as well on it. And so it's really intended and will be spent on certificated salaries and benefits. On the curriculum side of the house, again, the curriculum comes back. So again, a shout out to all those who have helped kind of put this together. Mrs. Ike, Mrs. Caillou, any who's ever touched that to get these quotes together. There's funds in the budget for specialties programs, athletics, GATE, ROAR, again, electives. There's all these particular pockets of money there. So staff have some flexibility and funds to do some awesome things. And then last but not least, we'll continue to use Illuminate Notice. So those programs are continuing to be accounted for in the budget. And again, expenditure side of the house, again, listed up on the screen there for you. But again, about 80% headed towards staff, classified certificated salaries and benefits, book supplies, services. And so again, about just shy of $14 million on the expenditures. So all together, if we get to the next one, actually, no, the next one's a pie chart. Good old pie chart. So probably a little bit too small. But again, you can see where the majority of the funds go. Again, certificated salaries, classified salaries, employee benefits, and just gives a visual representation of the 22-23 budget. Again, yeah, so here's the wrap up. Thanks for holding out. So again, about 14.4 on the revenue side, 13.9 on expenses, and then you net out facility fees. So we're looking, again, right now, about $280,000 net positive fund balance. So the budget is positive this year. In the out years, cash is also positive this year in the out years. I would just point out to note that net increase will likely substantially change at first interim. Again, with everything we've talked about this evening about the billions of dollars coming in, but with no definition on that yet. Again, as that gets sorted out on the legislature and with the governor in July and August, these will get updated, and we'll see those changes come at first interim. So with that, I'm glad to take any questions, or I would just seek approval.
I just, in case you've heard anything, oftentimes charter schools may get left out of these one-time fund programs or transportation funding, or is there any indication of it truly being per pupil, or that one of the guardrails might be that it goes to the district to funnel down? Have you heard anything in those regards?
So I haven't heard anything on the one-time not coming to charters. things that I've heard that like the hold harmless agreements, right? I've heard some nuances about may apply to districts and COEs and not necessarily charters, or sometimes it's classroom-based charters and not non-classroom-based charters. So there is some discussion there. And out of the 304 floating proposals, they're all a little bit different. So that's one to keep an eye on. The transportation one is also an interesting one. So in the legislature's version, mandate it and fund it for currently districts and county offices, and charter schools are not in there, meaning we wouldn't be mandated to provide it, and we wouldn't get it funding for it. So yeah, there are things floating out there that are sometimes specific, and we'll just kind of wait and see what it looks like when it comes through.
We just always, I think, at some level, at least I am always looking for transportation funding in terms of working towards our mission and vision and making sure students can get to our campus and all those different pieces. So I hear transportation funding and I tend to get excited at the possibility that there could be a source there. But I'm also very cognizant of the fact that that's extremely unlikely and probably a bit of a dream on my part. So I just thought I'd check in on that.
Yeah. Yep.
Steve, so you say there's a $200,000 contribution to reserve that's projected right now without some additional revenues that are likely going to be there?
It's a 283 right now projected. Again, but with all these dollars that are coming our way, once it gets sorted out and we see actually what's going to come our way, that number will, grow,
So it's
eightfold.
It could be like a seven-figure,
Yeah. Yeah.
And where are we now with current reserves? And we've made this, with all this land we're needing to purchase, and where are we now?
Yeah, so reserves are still healthy, floating around the $9 million mark. So again, healthy. We are in facility negotiations. We'll talk a little bit more of that tonight in closed session. But even with these funds coming in and the anticipated expenditures of potentially funds going out, our reserves could potentially still be in the multi-million dollars, right? And then the benefit of any additional funds coming in through the legislative process this year would help, buoy that a little further.
Well, it's my last board meeting, so I have to say the same thing again one last time, which is my advice is a reserve policy that is based upon the analyses from the 2009 deferrals. Figure out what would have been, or use that as the worst case. Do we have the cash necessary to avoid borrowing if they go to the same level of deferrals? I've been the doom and gloom guy on this budget, and it's been completely inappropriate. It's been crazy. But I think also just going forward, you cannot stay unhinged from reality for too long. And we know that they will go to deferrals. So, and we're gonna, if we make a purchase, we're gonna see the reserve then drop, by several million. And I would just encourage the place to build back to that threshold such that if there's the same level of deferral, you don't have to borrow, because that is when organizations are in trauma and they're and they make stupid decisions, and we have to do terrible things with our compensation level for our staff and everything like that. So I would just encourage, you guys have done a great job in your reserve stuff. We're also bigger now though too, right? And so if we're going to be a 1,500 student, undertaking, and you're going to have the reserves necessary to weather something like that, it's a significant number we're talking about. So not at all something saying don't buy something that's like good for the long-term well-being of the organization. I'm just saying get back to whatever that threshold is that I think is the long-term durability we want.
Next finance agenda, we are revisiting the finance, not reserve policy, in light of all those things you said.
Well, it's the thing that you might lose with me not being around anymore is just the 2009 deferral benchmark. And that's, if there's anything I could just ask you guys to keep in mind, it's that one, because it could be even worse than that someday, But I think we can all feel good if we stewarded ourselves around that worst case, which was a very, very bad case. We've been responsible. And we have something, to base it upon that's just not, our hunch or whatever. There's a historical precedent for it, and we really base around that. And then I think we can look our employees in the eye and say, no matter what, we we watched out for this organization and for you guys, and as best as we possibly could.
It's a great point, actually, John. I've had conversations recently over the past 7, 8, 9 years. We've only seen the LCFF go up every year, and we know there are environments where even mid-year, I mean, there were cuts to what was then the base revenue limit proposed, right? $441 mid-year. So you've already built your budget, hired folks, and then the state will come to us, oh, we need to cut that, reduce that down. So yeah, I mean, it's right on point, right? It's something we keep an eye on, because there has been a very good run over these past, number of years of LCFF continuing to go up year over year. So yeah, it's something we want to look
And I don't remember exactly, I think I remember that our analysis when we did this one time before was that it was slightly more than 6 months. It was like 55% of budget or 60% was the very nadir of the deferral crunch. I may be remembering this wrong, but I thought, John, that's what you brought back.
Yeah,
It was
it's
right around, it was
6
just a
months.
little bit over
Yeah.
6
No,
months.
not in observed.
And now if we're at 14 million right now, but we get ourselves to 1,500 kids, we're gonna be a $18 million, and now we're talking 9 to 10 in reserves if we continue to use that same benchmark. So, it's, we've done a great job of building the financial well-being here. And I think we're set ourselves up to get an asset for the long term that's incredible. But we also, I think, have to think about how we build back so that we have that long-term safety we want.
I still have my trauma response, Jed, don't worry. It has not left me.
I think your mic's off, but you're okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wasn't there for I haven't been here long enough for 2009 deferrals, but I've been here for some pretty nasty ones myself. So thank you. And Sean, just to confirm, the finance committee did review this budget and recommends it for adoption tonight.
Absolutely, yes.
With that, are there any other board questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I will move it.
I'll second. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. I'll skip over the closed session for just one moment and jump to future agenda items. John, would you mind sharing what you shared at the end of governance in regards to like a governance type session for the board?
Yeah, I was hoping to send out a doodle to the board members about your summer availability for a leadership workshop, a board workshop that kind of gets the team together and gets us all situated to really kick off this next year. Many years back, we did a board on track training and several of them. We'd like to kind of bring back some of that content and just get us all grounded. We maybe even want to, as I was saying before in my presentation, bring admin into that leadership workshop. So there's a board workshop, and then we join the board workshop with the administrative team and have a dual leadership workshop. So that's a piece we'd like to do this summer at some point. It's probably not until mid-late July or maybe even early August, depending on how everybody's calendars look. So I will send out a little doodle. If you're not available, please indicate that. But if you are, I'd love to see if we can work something out. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
And we're going to include all committee members too. So it's
Oh, yeah.
really all the pieces coming together to review mission, vision, future, bonding, all those things we haven't really been able to do together for over 2 years. So it should be pretty awesome. With that reflection, what worked well or what would have been better if? Who wants to start? Michelle, would you mind starting again since we made eye contact? I'm sorry.
Avoid eye contact. Check.
Can we all look away?
You gotta pull the mask up.
Right.
I'll see through that mask, don't you?
I really enjoy the budget presentation. I'm a nerd, so numbers nerd. And Steve, there's very few people that actually understand the budget process in as much detail as you do too. So I always like hearing it from somebody else.
Yeah, well done, Steve.
Jed.
So can I deviate because it's my last meeting? So
Yes.
Yes, you can say whatever you'd like to say.
Whatever you want.
Because 12 years, it's just been unbelievable, and to have seen ups and downs and all of that, and to be in the strong position that we are in now, it's just amazing to have been able to see it. If there's anything that I could just say for you guys, going forward, is that not just in California, but across the country, where we see the risk is around leadership transition. The board stability now and the disciplines and the routines and the structures are just here now. That was a huge risk, and hope what you've done and what everybody's done here has been great. I would just encourage you guys to think about how we make sure that we can grow our own leadership. I'm just seeing too many organizations that don't think enough proactively about it and end up having to hire from outside. And they hire from outside and they just don't understand the cultures of the places that they go into. They default back to what their experience is, which is often, something in the traditional system or whatever. And then you have trauma, and then you have, lost momentum, and I'm seeing it in some organizations right now, which is just completely and utterly heartbreaking to me. And I think those organizations had the capacity to be able to grow from within if they simply had made it more of a priority. So, we are so blessed that we have John here, and I hope that we have John here for another stinking 20 years. What you've done, John, here is incredible, right?
Thank you.
I'm gonna put it straight out there too. I hope that you stay here another 20 years, and that your 19th and your 20th year, you are in an emeritus status, where we are paying for 2 executive directors at the end, full salary for 2, right? Where if something's going wrong, you can come back in and, correct, right? But we have this long-standing, idea of a transition that's going to happen. Now, maybe something comes along, people throw something at you, and you've got a life-changing thing. You can't follow a model like that. But then the other proactivity that we've done in terms of internal to the organization, the incredible leadership that is here. The promotions that we're already seeing within the organization, if today doesn't demonstrate that we can actually grow all the future leadership that we need, well, I would just encourage you guys to think more about it. But also, for anybody of the teachers here or whatever who worry about, hey, is it a waste of expenditure, or is it, we're spending too much on administration? My gosh, for that transition period, we're going to pay 2 people to do the same job or something. Just plan for it a little bit per year. We put a little bit in the bank there. So for those crucial 2 years of transition, whenever they happen, it's stable and it's free from drama. And all the teachers will appreciate it, and the whole organization will appreciate it if you can get through that. So if I had been sticking around for another 12 years, this would have been the thing that I would have been coming back to. There's so many things I've been thinking about, in the role before. It was not even a luxury to look to the future and say, how do we really have a vision for future leadership? But that's what I would encourage you guys to do. To all of you, it's been amazing to be a board member with all of you. It's amazing to see this incredible institution, rise here in Natomas, and I just wish you well. And thank you.
Thank you, Jed.
Lila.
Our mic's dead, and I have to follow Jed, who's commenting on 12 years on the board with my 1 year on the board. This is great. I will just keep it short and sweet to reflect my 1 year on the board. This has been a wonderful learning experience. You have all been so welcoming. Steve, I also want to just compliment you. I think this time on the board has shown me, as an employee, how good you are at your job. And that's just awesome to see that and to learn that. And so thank you all so much. I am going to be a better administrator because of my year here on the board. So thank you for supporting in the learning curve and being supportive. And I also just want to give a shout out to my replacement, Katie Davis, who will be joining the board. And she is not a replacement. I'm going to guarantee she's an upgrade. So get excited. Katie Davis is coming. She is deeply loved by the organization, and she is excited to come aboard. So just a big thank you.
Thank you, Lila. Shannon?
Just going to do a normal, boring reflection. I guess also in the spirit of growth and reflection in general, it's the fact that there are however many H is in our consent agenda, and we all felt confident enough to just approve it. We didn't used to be able to do that, but board briefs were thorough, but also concise, and I felt like I knew everything that was happening, and I could, just say yes without asking a bunch of questions or belaboring that. And then also just, you make the budget interesting and easy to digest, which I appreciate.
Interesting. Don't give him too many props.
It's interesting.
No, it actually really is. I just had to be a little jerk. Sean.
So, like Michelle, I am also a nerd, so I enjoy the budget stuff. But it was nice that there was actually often it's a repeat between finance and when the budget comes up in the board, but there was actually new stuff. So even more riveting to those of us who are nerds.
Riveting.
Riveting.
Boy, okay.
Steve the Riveter.
Oh, now we're going to have to make, we were talking about memes earlier. I think we might have to make that image. Janie.
I just wanted, I'm excited about our work in July where we all get together, sitting with people, at the open house, sitting with Nurali at the open house, and then working with Sean on the ad hoc committee. Like it's a totally different place to be in when you actually get to know people and really appreciate their skill set and bond, and it was pretty amazing. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm glad that we're doing that.
Thanks, Janie. Josh.
I want to thank Jed and Lila for their contributions. Jed, for 12 years. Lila, you're not giving yourself enough credit. It was 1 year, and you jumped right on a moving train and ran right up to the front. And so thank you for that. You guys are going to be missed. We're going to have new contributions, but just want to thank you guys for what you have done. And, part of the reason we're in a good place is because of the contributions you've made as well. So thank you.
I know I'm losing my board member safety net. The person who was here when I came, who can answer all those historical questions. So watch out for phone calls. I feel like I both over and undersold the June meeting since it's 7:50 and right, like there is still a closed session, and I'm not going to cut that short. But that was because we had a full packet and everyone came prepared. So that's my reflection, is thank you for being ready to do the heavy lift today. And I think we're very well situated for 22, 23. And there will be change and growth and all of that. But I'm just super excited for it, given that we had such a good meeting tonight. So thank you.
It's good. As a plus, the fact that we're all back together in person is really cool, and I thank Jessica Block for keeping. I know the mics are going on and off, but I'm telling you, Jessica Block made all this happen. We are live on YouTube, but in person, and Jessica Block, our tech toast, just does everything she touches turns to gold. She is an absolute great asset to the organization and to this board. So again, behind the scenes, great stuff going on. So I think it makes our meeting better. And while I have the mic, Jed's one of the first people I met from the governance level when I got here. Hope and Jed both, Howard Chan as well. But, Jed has been that person. I didn't know the charter world coming in, right? I was from a traditional public school, background as an administrator. I came in, I just learned so much from Jed Wallace, interacting with him over these last almost a decade. And so, man, I really appreciate you. I appreciate your service to this amazing organization and all the wonderful families that we serve. And you will be missed, sir, and I will keep your phone number because I'm sure there'll be many reasons where I'm like, oh my gosh, can you explain this to me? So thank you. Your mic just went off. But just as you said, And
That's
you're
good because it should shut off when I say
True.
because is a horrible word that I say an awful lot, having listened to myself again from last month. With that, we will go ahead to shop again and go into closed session for real property negotiations. Let's take 5 minutes though, maybe grab a cookie, because I wasn't sure how many public members would come tonight, so there's a lot of extra cookies. And
If you're watching on YouTube, run down here and get a cookie.
hurry. Be here in the next 4 minutes. And then to just, we have small tokens of thanks for both of you. So we'll take that time to do that if that works. There won't be a report out of closed session, so don't hang out on YouTube waiting for us to come back. And then we'll see everybody in July.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Meeting adjourned.